A lot going on in politics, and I want to get right into it without delay. We've got our panel, Ben Tolchin, president and founder of Tolchin Research. He's out of San Francisco, and Brad Blakeman, former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush. What everybody wants to talk about right now is the fiscal cliff. But before we get into that, I'd like to get into some discussion about the cabinet. We've got a new term. We've got to get a new cabinet for the president. The first cabinet appointment that seems like it's going to be most significant, and certainly in the public eye, is Secretary of State. And that is because Hillary Rodham Clinton has made it very clear that she's going to step down. And the name that comes out first and foremost is Susan Rice, who is embroiled now in the Benghazi controversy. So, Ben, if I could start with you, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think Susan Rice, this whole Benghazi issue is a tempest in a teapot. I mean, it's really, as we've seen recently in news reports coming out today, or in the last couple of days, that she was the information that she shared with the world is with the information she had, and that a lot of the information the Republicans are trying to make hay out of was classified, and that she wasn't able or in a position to share. So I think at the end of the day, if President Obama chooses to nominate her, I would hope that the folks in Congress evaluate her on her merits, and she's got a tremendous record of service and foreign policy. She's extremely well qualified, and that to try to block her nomination, if she's nominated, she hasn't been nominated, first of all, but if she is, right, I would hope that we'd have a honest discussion about her merits and her qualifications, and not kind of a sideshow about Benghazi.
Well, it seems that she was kind of served up as a clay pigeon. Arguably, she was sent up before the Sunday talk shows with bad information that maybe she didn't know was bad, and possibly an administration had given it to her. That's a debate for another time. But, Brad, if you're to push Susan Rice as a potential Secretary of State, is she once again cannon fodder for the Republicans, particularly because they've made it clear that they're not going to support her nomination?
There's no doubt about it. Look, Susan Rice is not going to be the Secretary of State. The President, if he doesn't know that, should know that. And certainly the Senate Republicans on the relevant committees have told the President that they're going to filibuster her. So knowing that, why would you go into a fight for your first cabinet high-level turnover as a newly reelected president? It doesn't make any sense to have a major fight when you're talking about bipartisanship. What he should do is understand that most likely the number 2 choice would be Senator Kerry. He would waltz into that spot, and there wouldn't be any controversy at all. As a matter of fact, I think Republicans would herald his nomination. So if the president wants a fight, he's going to get one, but the president doesn't get to select his person without the advice and consent of the Senate, which he's not going to get.
Waltz into that spot. I mean, I think you could ask a lot of veterans, too, that they would not necessarily agree that Senator Kerry is an easy pick and that he's going to waltz right into
Well, I think he's an easy spot for Secretary of State. He's a hard choice for Secretary of Defense. Secretary of Defense, he wouldn't be have such an easy shot of getting. Secretary of State, I think he would.
Ben, what do you think about Senator Kerry as a top diplomat for the United States?
Well, I think, this is about politics, right, and the internal debates within the Senate. He's got a lot of good friends in the Senate. He served there a long time, and that's really what it comes down to. I mean, he's beyond the fact that he is qualified, but I do agree that I think he would be able to, he'd be less controversial than Susan Rice at this point, that's for sure.
Well, it sounds like it's a bit decided from what I'm hearing to you guys, from you guys. You appoint Senator Kerry, and we move forward, and he's got his friends. You almost make it sound like the election for senior class president. You elect the most popular guy, the guy with the most friends in the House or Senate. Pardon me.
Well, I don't think
he is qualified. Yeah, I mean, the guy served as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. There is no doubt he is vastly more qualified than Ambassador Rice. So I don't think there would be any controversy from what we know now for Senator Kerry to be the Secretary of State. But there certainly would be with Ambassador Rice.
All right, well, let's move on then to Treasury. Oh, go ahead, Ben.
No, I just say, it's one thing for the president. I don't know if he's just going to cede the ground to the Senate Republicans who threatened to filibuster. I mean, I think the guy just won a mandate with a pretty convincing re-election victory.
No, wait, not a mandate. He got a do-over.
Now we're going to get onto another subject. You start talking about a presidential mandate. But, mandate in terms of who he wants to... Go ahead.
No, he won a majority of the popular vote. He won an electoral landslide, a college landslide, and he's got the wind at his backs politically. And I mean, for him to back down from the threats of two Republicans of the U.S. Senate. I mean, he's in an interesting spot right now. Does he choose to cede the ground, or does he want to engage and fight? And, he is the President of the United States. The last time I checked, he's a lot more powerful than a couple Republicans in the U.S. Senate. So we'll see what he decides to do. But there's no doubt that it's an easier battle for to nominate Senator Kerry, but that doesn't mean he just doesn't want to nominate the person he wants to nominate in Ambassador Rice.
But you mentioned that he's got the wind at his back. If he picks a fight that he's likely going to lose, then he doesn't have the wind at his back, and then he's weakened right out of the gates from his first act in his second term.
That's right.
Well,
absolutely.
I mean, that's a decision he has to make, and I'm not. But look, we'll see who he decides to nominate and whether he wants to pick a fight or not. But if I were him, you saw him in the press conference the other day. He was looking for a fight potentially, and now he's got bigger issues, bigger fish to fry with the fiscal cliff looming. Those debates going on. So I think if I were him, I'd put more emphasis on that in those negotiations. But again, the guy just won re-election. If I'm president, if I just won re-election with a majority of the vote, an electoral college landslide, I'm not going to back down if I feel it's the right thing to do and this is the best person for the job.
Well, it sounds like we're talking Senator Kerry then, unless you guys know of any other names. Ben, Brad?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Senator Kerry is an easy choice, a big win for the administration going forward, and the president doesn't have to waste any capital.
All right, Treasury Secretary. Timothy Geithner has made it pretty clear he's going to step down really at first available opportunity and head off into the private sector and probably make a whole lot of money. So the other names I'm hearing to replace him would be Jack Lew, and I don't know a whole lot about Jack Lew. Any of you guys? Either of you guys?
Yeah, Jack Lew is an academic, as I understand his career, and I'm not so sure that Jack Lew would be the best choice. I think other names have to be floated out there. There's certainly the White House floated Jack Lew because Jack Lew has been around. He's comfortable with the president, but just being around the president and being one of the boys, I don't think is a good criteria to be the Secretary of the Treasury at such a pivotal time in our history.
Well, what other names do you know of?
Well, look, I'm not privy to the kind of names that the White House would be considering, but I would hope that it would be somebody with practical experience and not necessarily somebody from the Goldman Sachs criteria. That seems to be what we seem to nominate time and time again. The Bush administration and Democrats seem to love Wall Street. If I were advising them, I'd say let's stay away from Wall Street and try and pick somebody with practical experience, maybe who's run a business, and let's stay away from Wall Street.
Ben, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my view is that President Obama has two competing agendas here to some degree. He's shown a consistent pattern of loyalty to folks who he's close to, knows well, and gets along with, and that could come at a trade-off to, especially in this situation. I think he should focus on someone who is going to advocate for middle-class families. He just won a re-election based on an agenda focusing on middle-class families and raising taxes on the wealthy to kind of invest in the middle class in our future. And I think he's better served at getting someone who can represent those values and not someone who is focusing on Wall Street first and foremost. And I agree with Brian. I mean, I think that the last several Secretary Treasurers have been coming from Wall Street, being too close to Wall Street. And I mean, there's a balance act that you have to do, but I do think I'd like to see the next nominee be someone who is more in tune with middle class America than Wall Street.
Okay, moving on to Defense Secretary. We both talked about Senator Kerry. It seemed like both of you thought that that's going to be a tough fight. You've got so many people who would not like him in that position because of the stands that he took following the Vietnam War and other things that have added into his history. So who else are we talking about in the event that Leigh Panetta steps down? I've heard the name of Michelle Flournoy, who was former Undersecretary of Defense, but I don't know much about her, and she's not been in the headlines that often.
No, I think somebody, Secretary of Defense, if I were advising the president, is, Mr. President, you've had some very good choices as Republicans in that spot. If you were to find a Republican, even a Lindsey Graham, to head up the Department of Defense, again, at a critical time of cutbacks and standing down on wars and retooling our military. That might be a great spot to be bipartisan. I would have said 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, General Petraeus, but certainly that's not in the cards.
Yeah,
but
not now.
but I would try and make that a bipartisan post, and I think the president would be well served. And somebody like a Lindsey Graham, I think, would be the perfect candidate.
All right, gentlemen, we're out of time. I got to head to a break right now, but I want to thank you both for coming in.